Hey, welcome back to Weeby Kids again. I was actually thinking that this week I might tell you a story about the coming of spring. I was out last week and spotted all different types of signs of spring. But when I woke up this morning, we were covered with a beautiful blanket of snow once again. And the air is cold as it is whipping in from the west, and all the hills and the woods around here are once again blanketed in white, which made me realise that we are still in winter, and winter is a beautiful, beautiful time of year. And this winter here in the UK has seemed like the longest winter that we've had in a long, long time. Now, I love winter, so that is totally fine with me. But I know that many people are already thinking about spring and wishing spring to arrive. But while I was having all these thoughts, I was reminded of an old folk tale that is called The Long Winter. And it seemed like the perfect story to tell you all this week. So like many of these stories, this one happened a long time ago, when all of the animals of the world lived together. And it was set in a time when the world was covered with ice. From the North Pole to the South Pole, the whole globe was covered in a thick sheet of beautiful white ice. And it was covered this way because there hadn't been any heat and there hadn't been any sunshine for 3 whole years. Now, some of the animals enjoyed this at the start, but over time it began to wear them down. Food became scarce. They became cold. They couldn't travel like they used to. And they had gone through it as long as they possibly could, when they called a big council of all of the creatures together. And the fox stood in the middle and looked around, and he checked that all the animals were there. The woodpecker and the hedgehog and the deer and the wolves and the mice and the worms. But as Fox looked around, he noticed that there was one animal that was missing. And that animal was the bear. And he asked the other animals, has anybody seen bear? And they said, we haven't seen bear for about 3 years. As soon as it started going cold, bear seemed to disappear. And they pondered it for a moment, but then they got back on task and they said, the reason we are here today is because we need to return heat to the world, or else we will not survive. And the animals agreed, and they threw some ideas around. Who was the last people to see heat? Where could heat possibly be? And all the animals knew that heat always rises. Ah, said the fox, maybe heat has escaped through the hole in the sky to the world above. The animals agreed that yes, that is probably where heat was. They also agreed that they should go on a mission to try and recover heat. So the deer agreed to go, and the woodpecker, and fox, and wolf, and mouse, and hare. They all said, let's go together and we will return heat to the world. And the other animals cheered them on as they left. And they found the biggest tree in the whole of the land that led right up to the sky. And there they entered through the hole in the sky to the world above. And they searched and searched for days and days looking for heat. They couldn't find it anywhere. And then one beautiful morning, just as the sun were coming up, they walked around a hill, and there they were greeted by a big, beautiful lake, still as glass, with the trees around reflecting on the surface. And on the far edge of the lake, there was a teepee with smoke coming out of the top. And the animals agreed that they should go over and see who was in the teepee and if they could help. So they went over and they peered their heads in the teepee, and there, sat around a warm fire, were 3 bear cubs. Fox said to the bear cubs, where is your mother? And the bear cubs replied that she was out hunting and had been gone all night. And as Fox looked around, Fox spotted 4 sacks hanging in the teepee. Fox said to the cubs, "What's in that sack?" And the first cub said, inside that sack is all of the rain. That's where we keep the rain. Said Fox. And he pointed to the second sack. He said, "What's in that sack?" And the second cub said, in that sack we keep all of the fog. And then Fox pointed to the third sack. He said, "And what is in that sack?" And the third cub said, "In that sack we keep all of the wind." The fox looked at the fourth sack and said, "Now, little bear cubs, tell me what is in that sack." And all the bear cubs looked at each other, and then they said to Fox, "We can't tell you what's in that sack. Mother Bear has told us never to tell anybody what is in that sack, or else we will get in big, big trouble." And Fox said, "Look, little cubs, Mother Bear will never know. Just think you could tell me that and you'll make my day." So the cubs looked at each other and they nodded and they said, "In the fourth sack, that is where we keep heat." "Thank you," said the fox, and he turned and he walked out. And he got all the other animals together and he explained that in the teepee there was a sack and all of the heat was in the sack. And again they came up with another plan. They said, "We must do something to distract the mother bear when she returns so that we can get the heat and return it to the world." So the deer came up with an idea, and Deer said, "I will stand on the far side of the lake and attract the bear. When she sees me, she will want to hunt me. She will get in her canoe and she will paddle across the water to catch me. When she does that, go into the teepee and get heat and head back to the hole in the sky." And Mouse said, "I can help too, I can help. I will gnaw a hole in the oar, so when she paddles across the water, she will go very, very slow." "Yes, yes," said the deer. So the animals lay in wait. The deer went to the other side of the lake and the mouse got busy gnawing a hole in the oar of the bear. Not long after, the bear returned. And she sniffed around and she picked up the scent of the deer immediately, and she saw it on the far bank. And she jumped in her canoe and she started to paddle, but she couldn't go fast. She didn't know why, but it was because of the hole that the mouse had gnawed in the oar. And she paddled and paddled and she tried her hardest, and she tried so hard that the mother bear flipped the canoe over. Now when the fox and the woodpecker saw this and the hare, they flew into the teepee, they grabbed the bag of heat and they headed off back across the land to the hole in the sky. But Mother Bear saw them and she chased them. Fox gave the bag of heat to Hare, and Hare ran as fast as it could. But it was getting tired, very, very tired. So it gave the bag to Woodpecker. The Woodpecker flew high up in the sky with it so the bear couldn't get it. And each time they passed the bag to each other, they got closer to the hole in the sky until it was just in view. But Mother Bear was hot on their tails. They threw the bag, and as the bag went through the air, it snagged on a branch and hung over the hole in the sky like a big, bright light. And the weight of the bag tugged, and the bag tore open, and all the heat and the light went down through the hole in the sky and warmed the land below. Quickly all the creatures followed as they watched a huge transformation take place. The ice began to melt, the rivers swelled, and as the ground re-emerged, the flowers came back, and then the bees and the butterflies. And at last, after 3 long years of cold, heat returned and spring sprung. Now I hope you enjoyed that story. It's a nice little reminder that no matter how long the winter seems, spring will always come. Cold periods are always followed with warmth. And that's the same with the weather, but also with our lives as well. Sometimes we have periods of difficulty and challenge and can feel like we are stuck in a long, dark, cold period. But always remember that the sun always returns and heat always comes back. So I hope you enjoyed that story. Maybe we'll get a spring story in the coming weeks. If you're enjoying winter as I am, please make the most of it. There won't be much more left. So thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed the story again. We'll see you soon. Bye.